What's up, YouTube? It's your boy Maverick Raven coming at you with another video. And man, this Sunday's turning out to be a busy day, dude. We had a vote, obviously, last year. If you're not familiar with Florida politics or United States politics or what have you, so we have medical marijuana in this state in Florida where I live, and bro, we had to have 60% last year vote in favor of recreational cannabis for adults. In other words, it would have been a almost, blanket acceptance of marijuana, and the amount of marijuana that you had as a limit was pretty insane. I don't remember how. I think it was like 2 ounces or something like that on your person or something like that. It was something crazy. I don't remember. But the point was that you needed to have 60% of the vote in order to approve it. Well, that didn't happen. A lot of things didn't happen on the Florida ballot, but they're now saying, members of Congress are saying that they want the federal government to investigate the whole process. They're claiming potential fraud. They're claiming potential fraud. So we're going to get to this. This is from some website called the Marijuana Moment. Never really read of them, but we're going to check that out. But before we do, don't forget to like, comment, share, and subscribe. All that stuff really helps out the channel. Plus, we'd love to have you be the newest member of the flock. The flock's for life. So come join us, guys. We'd love to have you. The air is for everyone. Now, full disclosure, I have my medical marijuana card. So I don't know if I'm a little biased on this. I personally voted no on it also, just because of the fact that for me, I would rather pay, and it's kind of a racket, bro, because you pay $150 to renew your medical marijuana. It's like a license, but it expires every year. And if you pay it early, it's like $130. They give you like a $20 discount or something like that, whatever. But then on top of that, you also need to keep a yearly appointment with a doctor who, these doctors typically specialize in this because this is something that gets requested a lot. And then you pay the doctor. I don't even remember how much I paid the doctor, dude. It was obscene though. It was something crazy. It's over $100. And the thing is that you could go to other doctors, and from what I've read and understood of the rules, apparently you can go and to any doctor and ask for it. But unless the doctor has done like a 2-hour course, it's a certification type course. It's a 2-hour video or something like that. And then I don't even remember what, but the point is that there are doctors that are allowed to prescribe medical marijuana, and there are doctors that are not allowed to prescribe medical marijuana. But supposedly any doctor, whether you're allowed to or certified or not certified, any doctor supposedly in Florida can prescribe it if it falls like a very strict set of guidelines. But we're gonna get to that. It says 2 Democratic members of Congress representing Florida are asking the federal government to investigate what they describe as potentially unlawful diversion of millions in state Medicaid funds via a group with ties to Governor Ron DeSantis. That's not good, bro. I like Ron DeSantis a lot as a governor. I think he's probably the best governor in the country. But dude, that's not good. The money was used to fight against a citizen ballot initiative vehemently opposed by DeSantis that would have legalized marijuana for adults. Reps Kathy Castor and Darren Soto sent a letter on Thursday to the Department of Health and Human Services Inspector General, as well as Mehmet Oz. That's a doctor, Mehmet Oz, to you. Just kidding. The administrator of the Centers for Medicare and Medicaid Services, formally requesting they initiate a Medicaid fraud investigation. Oof. The diversion of Medicaid dollars requires immediate investigation, the 2 lawmakers wrote. There are proceeds that rightfully belong to state taxpayers to serve the citizens, who rely on Medicaid, including children, pregnant women, neighbors with disability, and those served by long-term care. They're going to get some flack, I'm sure, for saying pregnant women. You know, it's pregnant people now. The two lawmakers, members of a House committee with oversight of Medicaid, emphasized that Congress is very focused on waste, fraud, and abuse of Medicaid dollars. Any unlawful diversion of Medicaid dollars in Florida, they wrote, means that the state is less able to provide services to our neighbors who rely on Medicaid and the providers who serve them. And then Rep. Kathy Castor said, House Republicans say they want to root out waste, fraud, and abuse in government. Here's their opportunity. Rep. DeSoto and Darren Soto. I don't know. I always see a D in front of Soto, and I always think DeSoto. Rep. Darren Soto and I are calling for a federal investigation into a shady $10 million diversion of Medicaid funds in Florida, money that was meant to help families afford health. The letter follows allegations that a $10 million donation from a state legal settlement was improperly made to the Hope Florida Foundation, which later sent the money to two political nonprofits, which in turn sent $8.5 million to a campaign opposing the proposed marijuana legalization ballot measure Amendment 3. Dude, the thing with the marijuana, the recreational marijuana, is that if you do that, then you're gonna affect supplies on that. Meaning, for example, I go to this company called Cure Leaf, and dude, they have sales every day on everything. It's just they kind of rotate the sales, right? And I, for the most part, only use gummies because, dude, smoking weed is not good for me, man. Like, I cough, and then I end up not getting any of the benefit. I cough for like 20, 30 minutes straight, and then I get none of the benefits, so can't do it anymore, bro. Just, it never works for me, and I'm done trying. I've tried like 5 or 6 times. But those gummies, man, good stuff. So the problem is that when you go to the Cure Leaf store, right, they constantly have rotating sales. And the reason behind that is because they have, you know, just like a grocery store, they have to keep their stock fresh and stocked, you know, with the newest stuff. And the older marijuana gets, I'm guessing, thrown away or destroyed or whatever, right? Probably destroyed. But in order to do, you know, to prevent having to do that, the store is constantly putting stuff on sale. And the thing is that, as it is right now, there's a lot of medical marijuana in the state to go around. I voted against it because it works against me and my family. My wife and I both, we have our cards. And when we go to Cure Leaf, there's already kind of a supply issue at times in getting weed to begin with. So imagine if now everyone in the state is gonna be able to buy it. So I voted against it. Now, obviously, you could say, Mav, what if the supply problem gets fixed and more businesses come in? Yeah, dude, but that takes time, and I don't know how much time that's gonna take. You know, that and not to mention that might not even solve the problem. You know, you could bring in 10 major farms to Florida because of, you know, recreational marijuana being passed, hypothetically, and that might take however many years, and that still might not fix the problem. Because if everybody can buy weed at like cheaper than street prices, which on the street is pretty cheap depending on where you go. Full disclosure, there, I've never bought any type of drugs, you know, as a civilian, but yeah, man, other than weed, obviously, and stuff like that, and your prescription drugs, but I've never bought from a drug dealer. But supposedly, bro, like, weed right now is dirt cheap. But from what I've heard, also, they can't compete with the legal medical marijuana. And I've heard that from freaking former drug dealers, dude. So, you know what I mean? Like, so I don't know, bro. So I did my research last year, and I was like, man, this is not a good look, bro. This doesn't look like it's going to benefit me or my family. It looks like it's going to end up, you know, making everything much more expensive than even paying for the medical marijuana card and the doctor's appointment, which is probably like just short of $300 per person. So let's say $600 for my family at least. And yeah, man, it's just, I don't buy that much weed. So $600 worth, and then on top of that, so $600 worth a year, and then on top of that, I might not even get the supply that I want. So I said, nah, dude, no, it's not worth it for me. So that's why I voted the way I voted. On October 22nd, even though I think all drugs should be illegal. So is that a hypocritical vote? I don't think so, bro. But whatever. Sorry about that. It says on October 22nd, the Hope Florida Foundation wired $5 million to the 501c4 nonprofit Save Our Society from Drugs that proposed spending the grant on developing and implementing strategies that directly address the substance use crisis facing our communities. It continues, detailing the alleged impropriety. On October 23rd, the next day, Save Our Society from Drugs donated $1.6 million to Keep Florida Clean, Inc. Over the coming days, Save Our Society from Drugs donated an additional $3.15 million to Keep Florida Clean, Inc. Okay, so we got 3.1 plus 1.6. That gives you 4.75, and then another here. So yeah, bro. So that's 10 million. That's 9.75 million. While there are limited financial disclosure requirements associated with 501 organizations, the lawmakers said records appear to show that a total of $8.5 million from the Centene settlement with AHCA went from Hope Florida Foundation to the Amendment 3 focused Keep Florida Clean, Inc. PAC. The same PAC that also donated funding to the Republican Party of Florida and the Florida Freedom Fund. Pretty dirty. Hope Florida had raised only about $2 million during its 3 years of existence, they point out, but in one fell swoop received $10 million from a Medicaid settlement, which was immediately funneled through other nonprofits to a PAC directed by the governor's chief of staff. Reporters at the Tampa Bay Times and Miami Herald first uncovered the financial moves, which spurred an investigation by a panel of state lawmakers. That ended last month without any definite action, with the body's chair, State Rep. Alex Andrade, saying any charging decisions will be made by the U.S. Department of Justice. Andrade had described the alleged funding activity as potential conspiracy to commit money laundering and wire fraud, but later said that the best avenue is probably a federal investigation because these were Medicaid dollars. Yeah, bro, like, if you've watched the channel for a while, obviously I'm a conservative. Unfortunately, that means I have to vote with the Republican Party most of the time because we're living in a two-party system, and they're the ones that better align with my values. So this is a bad look for conservatives, if true, which I hope it isn't, bro. But it seems kind of shady. Seems really shady. Castor and Soto said in the new letter that transferring Medicaid dollars to a charitable committee and then political committees appear to run afoul of federal law, including 18 U.S.C. 1347, to knowingly execute or attempt a scheme to defraud a healthcare benefit program or obtain money from it, and 18 U.S.C. 371, for two or more people to agree to defraud the United States, and may implicate other relevant statutes and regulations. Yeah, of course. A press release from Castor's office emphasized that during a recent congressional hearing, Republicans repeatedly claimed that they were concerned about waste, fraud, and abuse in Medicaid. Castor and Soto now point to a concrete example of potential fraud and abuse, the release says, while urging an immediate investigation into this inappropriate diversion of taxpayer funds to an unrelated political action committee. While the Trump administration has taken little federal action around marijuana, Oz, to whom the new letter is addressed, is among its more pro-cannabis members. Really? That's interesting. I didn't know that. In recent years, he's encouraged audiences to be open to therapeutic cannabis and advocating for sweeping policy changes around the drug. We ought to completely change our policy on marijuana. It absolutely works, he said in a 2020 interview, calling cannabis one of the most underused tools in America. Yeah, I agree, dude. I agree. Meanwhile, in Florida, DeSantis this week signed a wide-ranging agricultural bill into law that contains, among other provisions, a new prohibition on the spores of psychedelic mushrooms. Yeah, bro. Yeah, that's true. The psychedelic mushroom spore ban is just one provision of the roughly 150-page agriculture bill, which also contains a new ban on local governments from adding fluoride to public drinking water. That's a good one. An issue that dominated debate as the proposal made its way through the legislature. The successful enactment of the psychedelic mushroom spore ban into law comes as several measures to expand medical cannabis access died in the Florida legislature this session. Lawmakers also failed to advance a proposal to restrict intoxicating hemp products to enactment this year. Really? Had not heard about that one. DeSantis also recently signed a separate bill into law which will create new hurdles for advocates aiming to put ballot initiatives before voters, including potentially the renewed effort to legalize marijuana in the state. I think it's just a matter of time before they legalize marijuana, bro. We're going to have a Democratic, governor eventually. So, I mean, people are saying that Florida's gone, like, from being a swing state to being red. I don't know, bro. I hope so, but I don't think so. Among other requirements, the law mandates that supporters post a $1 million bond before commencing signature gathering, prohibits the use of out-of-state and non-citizen petitioners, and narrows the window during which signatures must be submitted to election officials. That's bullshit, bro. Because the people that get the signatures, they're not always from the state. So yeah, bro, like I don't have a problem with someone coming to my door going, "Hey, I'm from Georgia," or whatever, and I'm trying to get, recreational marijuana in your state to be the thing. What do you think? I wouldn't care. I mean, I know a lot of people would be like, "Bro, this is in your state. Go back to Georgia. What do you care?" But the thing is, dude, it's politics. So people are going to get involved about things they care about. With things that they care about. I personally can tell you that for me and my wife, marijuana does help. It helps a lot with the inflammation of my joints and stuff, and the pain. Helps a lot with PTSD. Helps your mood, obviously. But bro, like, it's not. Oh, I don't know, man. It almost is like a wonder drug. It really is. Because the only side effect that I get off of marijuana is I get the cliche classic dry mouth, which is awful, dude. I didn't know that dry mouth could be that bad, but yeah, it's bad. Dry mouth, I get sleepy sometimes, no matter what, whether it's sativa, indica, or hybrid, it doesn't freaking matter what I do, bro. I just get sleepy. And I guess it could make you kind of overly complacent, really, if you're, the type of person that allows yourself to just take a day off and another. It doesn't matter, you know what I'm saying? That type of thing. You will definitely get a psychological dependence on marijuana after a lot of use. That I can attest to, because, bro, like, if you're constantly in pain and you know that for a couple hours you can be without pain. Yeah, bro, that's psychologically, addicting. But I really don't think it's the boogeyman that the more tight-assed conservatives have made it out to be, bro. I just don't. Not in my experience, not in what I've seen ever in my entire life. So I don't know. Critics have said the new changes will impede Floridians' ability to have their voices heard. One group hoping to qualify a measure that would expand Medicaid in the state has already sued the DeSantis administration over the new law. The new obstacles to placing a proposal on the statewide ballot come on the heels of two contentious constitutional amendments that went before voters last year. Including one, Amendment 3, that would have legalized marijuana for adults 21 and older, and another on abortion rights. The campaign for the marijuana measure, Smart and Safe Florida, took in more than $150 million in campaign funds, with most from large cannabis companies such as Trulieve, a multi-state operator that contributed tens of millions of dollars. Wow! I didn't know that they put in that much money. It also clashed with DeSantis as well as the state Republican Party, the latter of which Smart and Safe Florida later sued for allegedly deceiving voters about the measure. The cannabis campaign recently joined organizations focused on other issues in litigation against the new ballot restrictions. After Amendment 3 last year failed to win the 60% voter support needed to pass the constitutional amendment, Smart and Safe Florida is now aiming to put a revised legalization proposal on the 2026 ballot. Really? Oh, Lord, I don't want to go through all that shit again. Under the new law, signatures collected before enactment would not be subjected to the revised restrictions. Okay, that's interesting. Smart and Safe Florida has so far submitted just under the 220,016 valid signatures needed to trigger a judicial and financial impact review of the proposal. That's such a weirdly specific number. A total of 880,062 valid signatures statewide are currently needed to make the 2026 ballot, according to the Florida Division of Elections. Meanwhile, in Florida, state election officials recently sent a cease and desist letter to Smart and Safe Florida campaign, alleging that the group has committed multiple election law violations. Really? I'd be interested in seeing that too. The Office of Election Crimes and Security, OECS, part of Florida's Department of State, also fined Smart and Safe Florida more than $120,000 for submitting completed petitions more than 30 days after they were signed. Yeah. The issue was referred to the Florida Department of Law Enforcement for a potential criminal investigation. In a statement to Marijuana Moment at the time, a campaign representative said it has confidence in the process and intends to push back on the state's assertion it violated election law. The claims made appear to be a targeted effort to thwart the ability for the people of Florida to express their support of a citizen-driven amendment, the statement says. We stand by the process and had legal counsel vet all forms and communications prior to mailing and look forward to challenging the validity of these claims. Damn, bro. Isn't that crazy, man? Like, no matter what, whether it's like a citizen-driven initiative or what have you, or a government, suggestion, whatever it is, there's always like dirty money everywhere, and it's always a PAC somewhere lobbying, and it's just disgusting, dude. We need to revive. I know that people in the government don't want to do it, but we need to revise our lobbying processes in this country, dude. For real, for real. And we need to figure out if term limits would in fact help with this. There's term limits on presidents, there's term limits on governors, but there's no term limits on representatives or senators. Seems a little wrong to me, dude. And I bet if it wasn't the senators and the reps that were making these laws, I bet you if it wasn't up to them, they would probably have term limits already, imposed upon them by a separate entity. But because they're the legislative branch, nothing happens. It's crazy, bro. It's crazy. Anyways, thank you guys so much for sticking with me. I know it was a long one, but some information to get out about Florida. And, I don't know, man. God willing, whatever happens is not full of corruption, but I'm a little too old to think that there's not going to be any corruption, so. Because it's funny, because I went into this, and I had seen the first couple paragraphs, and I was like, damn, dude, so Florida's going to get busted, huh? And then here, apparently, there's another investigation going in on the other side as well. Which, don't get me wrong, it could just be, the Republican staff of Florida, right? The governor and our reps hiding stuff. That could totally be it, bro. But when you basically have an accusation made against you, and on top of that, you've got accusations pending, it doesn't look good for anybody, bro. So everybody's corrupt, What a surprise, right? It's the world we live in. Anyways, thank you so much, guys, for hanging out. It's really my honor to be able to, hang out with you guys. I love you guys. Don't forget to use that comment section. That's what it's there for. And as always, you guys, stay safe, stay based.